Hello everybody, it's Calxiyn here. So we're talking about something very important today. There is a rumor going around that Scarlet, Sage, and Neptune are actually all dead.
What? A rumor?
A rumor. So for some reason, okay, so first before we get started, you guys should become patrons, join our Discord server, all that stuff. So there has been a rumor within the community for the past couple days, maybe a week, that Scarlet and Sage are dead, and that Neptune is alive.
Do you mean
I
theory?
mean, no, not a theory. I don't know. Okay, so background. I don't understand where this came from, but somebody said basically that they heard a theory that this was the case, and that Neptune and not Neptune, but Sage and Scarlet were on the board where were supposed to, basically that they were the huntsmen that Lionheart had sent out to die.
Okay.
And I don't think their names were on the board, or we would have all caught that, but apparently there was a rumor going around that they were either, you know, supposed to be there or something like that they were part of that, and so Neptune, that is why Neptune and Sun will come to Atlas. It's because it's not about Sun reconvening with his team. He doesn't have a team. All of them are dead, except Neptune.
Depressing.
So, Neptune also may be dead, actually. I don't know.
Sea monkeys happen, and, like, this is the catalyst for, like, the first sort of solid
I don't
ship
understand where this rumor came from. So here's basically, that commenter told me, and so I looked it up, and I found a post on Tumblr about it. I don't know if it's still up by now. Then I found something on the Amino that toyed around with that, and now I don't understand how these rumors start. I don't know if this is real. Like, I don't know if there's any credible source to this information.
Probably is not.
But imagine if we talk about this rumor right now, and we're the first RWBY channel to talk about it, right? And then Sage and Scarlet are actually, like, dead or whatever.
So
like,
you're just
imagine.
hoping for that.
Yeah, kind of. And I think that it's interesting.
Scenario.
I don't know. Like, obviously, this is a rumor, so don't take it with too much seriousness. But at the same time, I think it's important to cover these things because it's interesting to see how these things start. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting to see how and where people get this idea from. And so I think that, I don't know, it's a weird little thing because obviously, you know, nobody inside of, like, RWBY, like, leaked anything, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's one of those, like, conspiracies or whatever, but everybody, like, knows a friend that knows a friend that knows a poster on Tumblr who knows a friend, and somebody works at Rooster Teeth, and they told
My
them,
dad
like,
works at Nintendo.
Exactly, like, some of those, like, weird-ass, like, speculation, but at the same time, what if this is actually true and they are among the dead? Like, what if that was supposed to be the thing, you know what I'm saying? And so, again, it's a rumor. I don't know what else to kind of tell you guys about it, but I do want to kind of say my thoughts. I think that this is actually a really good idea, because it shows that Lionheart didn't even give a shit about his own students, because the adult huntsman I can understand, but his own students who would have had trust in him, he was like, no dice, bruh, and he sent them out to die too. That could lead Neptune and Sun to come with us, because they really have nowhere else to go. At this point, and I think that's more interesting than Sun abandoning his team, is that he's taking Neptune along for the ride because there's nothing with that left for them in Mistral anymore. That they are sort of a stray, so to speak. Sage and Scarlet weren't really that interesting to begin with. It's not like Gavin can voice really Scarlet anyway. You know, like, because Gavin is the voice of Scarlet, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, Gavin's just busy all the fucking time.
He tries his best.
Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, if you needed an excuse to get rid of Scarlet, there you go. Just kill them. And I think this is an interesting idea because I think Neptune would have some anger towards Sun for not being there. You know what I mean? For not being there for them.
And then they bro it out.
They bro it out, and I think that's interesting. That's more interesting than anything that has happened in this fucking show, would be Sun and Neptune actually having a serious moment where they need to discuss the death of their teammates and sort of that they blame each other, because Sun would have been like, well, why did you go out on this mission? You know, why would you do it without me? And then Neptune would be like, well, you weren't there anyway, you know? Like,
I just wanted you to love me.
Like, that's more interesting as a concept than most of the other dynamics that we've had going so far. It would also take care of RWBY's too many fucking characters problem. It would be interesting.
I mean, that would inject significant drama that would have to take away from other,
I mean,
drama.
but if we're staying... Because here's how I imagine the Atlas arc, right? We're staying in Mistral, right? And then we're going to Atlas, right? So we can have half of the volume be in Mistral, so to speak, still in Mistral, and deal with that. And then the other half starting to go in Atlas and dealing with Atlas conflict, right? You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't think we're going to start episode 1 of volume 6 and just be in Atlas. Right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that would be weird.
And so I'm saying that I think that we have some time for some Sun and Neptune drama. That's what I'm saying. And so I don't think we're starting in Atlas, so we could start the volume in Mistral and then generally leave. Right? And so I think that that's fine. And then the other thing that I think is that, again, this is more interesting for all of their characters. This would give Sun some more dimension. It would have things be a little more serious. Obviously, Juniper can relate to losing a teammate. So there's that. It's just... I like opportunity for characters to have interesting arcs. And we talked about this with the Ilya video that you guys haven't seen yet, I don't think. Depending on when this video comes out. Like, why Ilya should go to Atlas, all of that stuff. Hunter and I, when we're doing these, we try to find the most interesting arcs. And I think the most interesting arc is for Sun and Neptune to have this sort of... moment with each other, because we need sort of a reminder. This is the harsh, cold reality of this world, is that huntsmen go on missions and then some of them just never come back, and then Salem dragged another two students into her plan and then they died, you know what I mean? I think that is meaningful, and it helps with world building. It helps us see the capacity of what Salem has actually done, because as much as I appreciate all the huntsmen on the board apparently being reported dead, and a Crow saying that you let all those huntsmen to die, we don't really have a connection with those huntsmen to care. Obviously we care.
When he went to the bar and paid off the money.
Yeah, of course there was that.
Is Mommy home?
That was more for Crow's characterization, though, than anything. It wasn't necessarily a world build moment, and so this could really show that, while these other characters that we know aren't on screen, they are always in constant danger. Nobody's probably thought of Scarlet and Sage for a while, but it could be that, who knows, where Team Coffee could be dead in a ditch somewhere right now, too. I think that reminder is a good idea, and I think that since Scarlet and Sage aren't really integral to the narrative, I think that would help as well. And I think that at the end of the day, whether this is true or not, I think the idea is good, and so I hope that it happens, and I hope y'all will come look at this video and be like, oh my god, Cal predicts everything, the rumors were true, it happens all the time, you know what I mean? I hope that something like that will happen. Because again, I think that would also give important characterization to Neptune and Sun, because a lot of people's problems with Sun right now and Neptune is that they're very one-dimensional, and Neptune seemed to have only existed to hit on Weiss for a second so Jean could get his development fill with a dance arc, and that Sun only exists to further Blake's arc, and we can kind of discuss that in detail, but I don't really like when characters are used as plot movers, if that makes sense. MacGuffin, yeah, because that's sort of what Sun and Neptune are sometimes, is that they are there to push things, and that's it. You know what I mean? And so I don't know a better example of that, but I don't like to bring my own work into these sort of things.
Don't.
I will for a second.
Okay.
I made something and it had all of these basically unnecessary characters in it, so I tried to fuse them into one person basically, because they seem to only exist to move the plot, and now in the current thing I'm writing there are still kind of characters like that, but a character actually comments on how that they're only there to be included. Do you remember that?
That doesn't really
make it a little better, but at the same time, it helps that if in the world certain people are only there to do something, you know what I mean? And so, for some context, like, in the story I'm writing, they have some suitors, and one of the characters says, I feel like the men are only here because they feel the need to be included, or something like that. But that builds the world, right? You're in a matriarchal system.
Yes.
Where men don't really matter necessarily as much as the women.
And really, that's
right?
how a lot of women are viewed in patriarchal systems.
Yeah, and so that makes sense, right? It makes sense to have these sort of characters as MacGuffin-y, we're only here for show sort of thing, right? But RWBY's world isn't necessarily like that, and then the writers also haven't had a good reason for them to be the way that they are, necessarily. Like, for Penny makes sense to be a device because she is literally a device. Like, that is her thing, right?
And
even
at least she was likable.
Yeah, and Cinder even, like, said that, you know? Like, that, you know, Penny was, or RWBY said that, rather, that Penny was a tool to prove a point, right? And so that's sort of the writers kind of inserting that they're, you know, that they had a good MacGuffin, you know what I mean? And so Penny, like, we've talked about Penny and Sun as a comparison before, that Penny was a tool to be used by the villains instead of a tool to be used by the writers, and I think that's a very important distinction, so this would give them further character, I would argue, right?
Sure.
You feel? Anyway, I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, remember that you should be patrons on Patreon or join the Discord server, and we will see y'all later. Bye, guys!